All right. So at the end of every year, I like to do what I call an extensive grade of every player and almost every coach in every aspect of the Cleveland Browns to see where this franchise is at, who needs to be kept, who needs to get their walking papers, and who needs to be, who we need to evaluate more, not scrutiny, well, with more scrutiny, yes. So right now, I'm going to start with the defense. And we're going to start with just the players on the defense. I'm only going to really talk about players who had over 100 snaps. If they were under 100 snaps, like Jermaine Carter, Ben Stile, D'Anthony Bell, Reggie Ragland, Roger Perry, Thomas Graham, and Sam Kamara, they didn't really play a significant role enough in the season to really have any kind of meaningful grade and meaningful expectation as well. So if those guys are missed, then there's that. I will also be comparing their PFF grade to what my grade will be, which will be very different from their PFF grade. Their PFF grade is going to grade them on a scale of everybody. I'm going to grade these guys on a scale of what I expected from them. Did they exceed my expectations? If so, how much? Did they meet my expectations? If so, how much? Or did they disappoint? So, for example, Jordan Kuzniak, he has a 52.4 grade on PFF. It's not good. That is a replacement level player on PFF, but I would give him a C because he played about exactly what I expected Jordan Kuzniak to play at. Greedy Williams is somebody who has a 52.2 grade, which is at the same level. But I would be more inclined to give Greedy Williams something closer to a D minus or a F because the expectations were for him to be able to challenge for a starting spot, and he legitimately just became a bench warmer this year, right? So that is a massive undersell of expectations. That is why he gets a low grade. So now that we know how the grade works, I've used a couple of examples. Let's get into this. Anthony Walker's an interesting one to grade. He came in at an 82.7 Pro Football Focus grade, and I'm inclined to give him a B for what he played. He didn't play much in the year. He got hurt very early on, but when he did play, he played well, and the defense definitely, while still having issues while he was out there, very different from the issues that they had after him. The run game defense never really got the same until they added a similar player to Anthony Walker in that linebacking room. So A-Walk, I will give him a B. AJ Green III had a 43.6 Pro Football Focus grade, and I'm inclined to give him a D. I had high expectations or higher expectations for AJ Green. He just did not live up to them. He wasn't the player you wanted on special teams. He wasn't the player that I wanted in coverage. He just wasn't reliable, wasn't a good enough tackler. Really thought he would contribute this year. Thought he had a camp that pointed in the right direction, but none of that turned into anything significant or any significant yields on the field, which is why I'm going to grade him very low. Isaiah Thomas comes in with a 51 Pro Football Focus grade. I would give him a B. He was a 7th or 6th round draft pick, very late draft pick. I was kind of surprised he made the team, let alone 162 snaps. I felt like he played well when he was out there. No, he's not going to be playing at a high level yet. He is literally a 7th or 6th round pick. You can't really expect that from somebody who was drafted that late, but he was a contributor, and I see a path for him to become a member of this team for a little while. And that is great to get out of a 6th or 7th round pick. Most of those guys don't even make it past really July. So it's really good that he is at that position. He would, I would say, he has outperformed my expectation for a player at that level, and well, at that draft selection. So I would say that. Chase Winovich comes in at a 61.1 Pro Football Focus grade. I would give him a D. He disappointed my expectations. I thought he would be more of a contributor, do kind of the Tech McKinley stuff, and he just never was. All he was this season was a guy to rotate in there when Miles and Jadavion got tired. I thought that he would be somebody who would contribute in some 5-man fronts, in some special packages where he would have a definitive role, kind of like what Tack did the year before. But nah, that never happened. He was just another guy on the team ultimately, and he wasn't traded to be just another guy on the team. Tommy Togiai comes in with a abysmal 38.8 Pro Football Focus grade, and it's not the lowest one on this list, but it is the lowest one for somebody who's not a rookie. Yeah, man, he gets an F. I mean, like, my expectations weren't very high for Tommy Togiai, and he disappointed them. I just don't think he's a NFL player. 225 snaps is not insignificant, and a 38.8 Pro Football Focus grade and a 39 in run defense is just unplayable. Point blank period. It's unplayable. So, I think Tommy Togiai is probably a very nice gentleman. I think he is a very redeeming person, but on the football field, he's got to find a different lane, because what he's doing right now just doesn't work at all. And if he wants to stay in the league, he's going to have to play much, much better or find a different niche for himself in the league. Ronnie Harrison came in at a 46 Pro Football Focus grade. Very disappointing. D. I would give him a D so far. Not so far for this season. Again, another guy you kind of expected to contribute, just kind of became a bench warmer. He just hasn't been good. It's been about 3 years or 2 or 3 years since we traded for him. He just hasn't been good. He hasn't been what you expected. He hasn't lived up to the expectations. Taking him off the field always seems like a better solution than having him on the field. It's time to part ways. I don't see what the benefit of having Ronnie Harrison is anymore. At a point in time, there was maybe a role for him, but there just isn't now. Tony Fields comes in with a 49.1 Pro Football Focus grade. And I would say Tony Fields, C+. He's slightly above expectation. Didn't have high expectations for him to begin with, but he did end up making some plays, got an interception, made some plays that won games this year. So I would say that brings him up to a C+. Some potential there, especially as a pass rusher. He is an abysmal run defender. But who on this team isn't, and some of that might be scheme at this point. Jacob Phillips came in with a 36.7 Pro Football Focus grade. And, man, my expectations weren't super high at Jacob Phillips, but this is an F. And I hate to give a young player like this an F, but it is an F. Because for this year, even the low expectations I had of him, he undersold them so badly. It just isn't there for him. It just isn't there. The run defense was abysmal with him out there, and it was abysmal in some units with him not out there. But also, like, the linebacking play got significantly better, and I hate to say this because this is callous and this sounds harsh, but it is the truth. The defense got better when he got hurt. Like, when they had to play other people other than Jacob Phillips, every time this year, the defense got better. It wasn't like they were a great defense without Jacob Phillips there, but they were better than they were with him. The beginning of the year when AWalk took over for him, better defensive performances. AWalk gets hurt, he plays again, the defense dips, and then he gets hurt, the defense is decent again. I'm not saying that, and let me make this very clear. I am 100% not saying that Jacob Phillips was the problem on defense. I am just saying that he was not part of the solution, and he was at least a contributor to some of the problems on defense. Just wasn't good. There's no way you can flip it. Perion Winfrey comes in with a 41.6 Pro Football Focus grade. This is a D for me. He disappointed my expectations even for the first year. Now, I'm not giving up on Perion Winfrey, and I don't think we should give up on any of these like first or second year players that put up a bad grade even on my scale. Because, again, these guys can develop and maybe they'll reach expectations some point in the future. But, yeah, Perion gets a D. Just didn't have the year that I thought he would. Couldn't stay on the field. Couldn't stay out of, like, minor trouble in the locker room for whatever reason. Missing a meeting here, in there. And then we know about the scooter thing with him and all that. Just a lot of headlines that weren't about his play this year. And when your team needs desperately great defensive tackle play, having a defensive tackle who is in the news cycle for not playing defensive tackle is immensely frustrating. Deion Jones, who was traded for in the middle of the year, comes in with a 48.7 Pro Football Focus grade. He's all right. I think he played better at the end of the year. I give him a C. This is about what I expected. I didn't think he would fix the defense, but I thought he'd be aight. He was aight. Jadeveon Clowney, ironically enough, had a decent Pro Football Focus grade this year. 75.8. Came in with a high run defender grade, 74.3. Pass rush 70. Well, look, we all know how it ended with Jadeveon. And it's going to be real easy to say the Jadeveon F and look at the 2 sacks and say that he played bad. Fact is, he didn't really play bad this year. He was about what you expected out of Jadeveon Clowney. I think last year was more than you expected out of Clowney. This year was exactly what you expected out of Clowney, right? Which is a low sack, high pressure, good run defending year from him. It was about average, for Jadeveon Clowney. I'll give it a C. I know some people are going to be tempted to go the other direction because they just don't like Jadeveon Clowney right now. But if we're being objective about this and evaluating his work, it was a Jadeveon Clowney season, which is, hey, he's not going to ever be leading your team in sacks. He should know this by now, but he doesn't. He's completely unaware of who he is. But this is who he is. This is what he's been. And this is what he'll be for another team, right? Like every once in a while he pops off for like 9 sacks, but like other than that, he's a low sack guy. Sione Takitaki with a 67.7 Pro Football Focus grade. I would give him a C+. He's slightly above my expectations. Had some great moments this year. Also had some bad moments. He kind of came along when some injuries were there at linebacker and he was able to play Mike. I think there's a lot more to explore for him at that position. I would say keep your eye on Sione Takitaki if he does come back. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I would give him a C-, a slight step back this year. Didn't really play as well as you wanted to. Had his moments, but just, again, didn't make the leap that you wanted from him. And then he got injured as well. So not great from him. Alex Wright, edge defender, came in with a 38.4 Pro Football Focus grade. I think that is way lower than it should be. I'm going to say Alex Wright was who I expected him to be this year. So a C. Yeah, I think that Pro Football Focus grade is like way low on him. Not a great run defender. We know this. And he has his issues being a pass rusher. I think what we're finding out with him is that he might not be an edge rusher. He might be 4-eye inside 3-tech guy. I don't think he's an edge rusher. Maybe he's a power edge to a 3-tech in a 4-3. And he's definitely a 3-4 interior defensive lineman. So, I think that's what his future is. He just isn't athletic enough to live out there. His feet looked slow. His hips look bad. He's not a great athlete. I would say use him more like how the Bills try to use Gregory Rousseau, and you might have something there. The next guy on the list is Taven Bryant, C. Not much to say. Jordan Elliott, D-. Not very good. Denzel Ward came in with a 56.8. I would have to say D+. Like, he got the turnovers this year, but coverage-wise, he just wasn't who you expected. Now, a lot of that has to do with what was going on with the coaching situation, which is, been handled in one part. Joe Woods isn't here anymore, but we'll see. Martin Emerson with a 72.5 Pro Football Focus grade. I would give him an A. He exceeded my expectations and became one of the best corners on the team. A team that has like a bunch of good corners. Good on him. Really made, if he makes a leap, he makes a leap, but he's already really good. Myles Garrett, A+, kind of just, if I'm being fair, it's a C because like he played around expectations, but like when you have a 92.6 Pro Football Focus grade, you get an A. Greg Newsome came in with the 69.1, C. Once they moved him to slot, this is kind of what I expected. I hope they move him back out to the boundary next year so he can be the great corner that we know he is. John Johnson with a 62.8 Pro Football Focus grade. Give him a D. Just nothing that changed my mind from my opinion of him last year. just kind of their player, not really a game changer. Grant Delpit, though, on the other hand, came in with the 63.6, had a slow start to the season, real strong, and I would give him a B minus. If he had a stronger start, he would be in that B to A territory. Really looked like a game changer at the end of the season, but that's where Grant Delpit is. And defense overall, if I'm grading this based off of expectation, I thought this defense would be at least top 15. They were a horrible defense. F. This defense gets a fail this year. Okay, a straight up F. The fact is that when you have Grant Delpit, when you have Greg Newsome, when you have Myles Garrett, when you have Martin Emerson, when you have Denzel Ward, when you have Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, when you have Jadeveon Clowney, when you have so many names on this team that are recognizable in the NFL for being good NFL players on defense, you should not stink. And you stunk. Now, a lot of that's on the coordinator. We'll talk about that in a minute. He's already kind of been removed from this whole conversation, but still disappointing F season from this team. They should be embarrassed that they were this bad this year. Straight up embarrassed. Like, yeah, Joe Woods has a hand in it, but if you're playing that locker room, you know the talent of the guys around you. You should look around and be straight up embarrassed with what you put out there. Because this was an embarrassing defensive output this year. Just straight up embarrassed. It was embarrassing to watch. I know it had to be embarrassing to be a part of. Unless you have sold yourself that, hey, what you are is a player on a terrible defense, and that's all you can be in the NFL, okay, then don't be embarrassed, because then that's what you want. But if you think you could be anything other than that, you should pretty much be embarrassed of yourself. This was an embarrassing output by this defense. But that's a grade for this defense. No surprises here. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section down below. Everybody have a great day. Have a good day.